Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this sunny, at least by me, March 18th, 2025 Michigan PR Group. I hope everybody's doing well today. And, you know, if you're still wearing green from St. Patrick's Day yesterday, that's a good thing. Oh, my dogs are trying to join us immediately here. Okay. So, got a roundtable meeting today. Bijou. My dogs are excited that I'm talking because others have just been working silently. So does anybody have any questions for the group to start us off today? Anybody that now that it's almost feeling like spring, thinking of summer reading program? I always laugh how you're always a season ahead working that way.
Very strategic of you.
Anybody got any cool summer reading plans going on?
Well, I don't know how cool they are. I hope they're cool. Um, so I think I've mentioned to this group before that last year my first day was June 3rd, first full day after training. And summer reading started, I think, June, I don't know, 13th or something. And so last year didn't have a lot of time to plan. This year we have a new director, we have a new children's librarian, and we're going to have a fairly substantial kickoff party for the children, the teens, and the adults. And then we'll have a fairly substantial kind of closing ceremony type thing too, with ice cream magicians and um, all kinds of shenanigans and hijinks and hilarity. So it's going to be, I think, a much different thing. And I get, I just wasn't made aware. It's nobody's fault, but I just didn't, I came and kind of did my own thing, and it went okay last year, but this year I feel much more prepared already. And we're going to also have weekly events. Like last year, we didn't really have anything, but we'll have like rock painting and, you know, different weekly events that, mainly probably for the children, but also for adults and teens. So yeah, pretty excited here at Tecumseh.
Sounds like planning is really helping.
Yes, yes,
There's something to be, pushed into the deep end, but it's nice to prepare for that too.
yes. And you know, I just finished, last year a 30 plus year career as a teacher, and I thought I was a planner. I thought, oh gosh, I plan things well in advance, but then I see the librarians and they're talking about summer reading 97 or 2027 and summer reading 2028. And I'm like, no, that's planning.
Yeah.
That's a different level. So yeah.
Yes, we can be planners. There we go. That person. Anybody else got anything cool in the works?
Very similar. We're just also doing a kickoff party. And we are having a petting zoo come. We have a local Paul Mitchell school, so they're going to come and do face painting for us. So we're excited for that. And then we usually have our community art project that day too. We're still deciding what to do because the theme is so amazing. Like there's just so much we can do with the theme. So we haven't decided what we want to do for our community art project yet.
Yep, this one definitely leads to artistic endeavors.
So we're doing something a little bit different. A couple of years ago, when it was We're All in This Together theme, we did a read to grow trees. And so for every, I can't remember what the numbers were, but for every 50 books that were read, the Friends of the Library bought a tree to plant in the park. So it was like a community goal instead of everybody getting prizes, and there were still prizes, but it was a community prize. And so we got such good feedback on that. We're doing that again this year. So the Color Your World, we're going to have a giant box of crayons on the wall, and then for every so many books that you read, you get a crayon to put in the box, and then for every so many crayons that we'll be donating a box of crayons to the school. So, so we have another community goal and community project, which everybody is pretty excited about. So I think that'll be fun.
That is a great effort. So instead of just focused on just the individual.
Yeah.
Yep, and got in the comments that that's perfect. So share that. Oh, yes. Hi, Midnight.
Talking about summer reading ideas.
Yep. What you got in the works, Jeff?
Student art show. So it's the entirety of the entire school district, first to 12. There's going to be like 60 plus pieces of art coming into the library, including sculptures, photography, painting, everything. So kind of a cool way to squeeze it in before the last day of school, right before summer reading, and then you have the theme. Hopefully it's going to be great. Yeah. Excited about that.
That's always great because then you have, 60 plus sets of parents and grandparents that are coming into the library. So
For sure. Yeah, we have a painting class for adults. We started a fiber arts club. That's kicking off soon. Be pretty good. But yeah, we'll have a reception for the students right before the last day of school. I think it'll be a real good vibe. Might be chaos too, but like good chaos.
yeah,
We like chaos.
organized chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So I've got a question for the group that something we couldn't really plan for. It is still evolving. So I'm sure we're all aware of the executive order that was signed last Friday about IMLS. I'm, obviously we're trying to be platform neutral as a library, but I'm waiting to hear, and I'm sure everybody, like, especially like Library Michigan is working on this. But like, what will be affected, and if we can, once we have the list of what's affected, to share that with our patrons. Has anybody else done anything or thinking of how it's going to affect all of us? Because we love our Mel cat and love Mel, so.
Be interesting to see.
Our director did, I think yesterday, send an email to the staff explaining, basically what had been emailed, from the state to him. And that's the first step, but we haven't really publicized anything to the patrons because, we, like you said, we don't really know. But if Melcat is affected significantly, which it appears that that could happen, they'll find out.
Mhm.
Patrons will find out very soon. And again, I've been here less than a year. I'm not in on personnel decisions and all, but I do know that a significant, like, part of our staff is dedicated to dealing with Melcat only, basically every day. And so you wonder, like, I've wondered, like, how that would affect, our staffing and so on. I don't think it's going to affect us like directly with funding, but I think the services that we offer, including summer reading, um, will be affected, and I think patrons will take note. It'll be pretty self-evident quickly. So definitely not good news. But hopefully there's enough pushback that perhaps some of that will not happen.
That's,
We-
fingers crossed. 'Cause
We are a standalone library where we are a member of TLN, but we are not a shared system with TLN right now. Mostly because of the cost. It's very expensive and we're a little library. So we rely on Melcat for our patrons to get things that we don't own. So that'll be a blow to our budget because we would have to join the shared system with TLN. So we would have to cut other things to make that happen. So that's kind of where we're at. That would affect us greatly.
I know this whole thing is still evolving, and I've gotten I actually deal with Melcat. That's actually I'm a clerk in circulation, and I deal directly with Melcat each and every day. It's in some way, shape, or form. I do have a small group of people I work with. I mainly work with um, the paperwork side of it, and then I do part of the shipping and packing and all that. But from what I understand and from the first word we got, there is enough money allocated for Melcat through 9 months. So hopefully, this whole thing can be sorted out, or however you like to call it. The thing we have done is, or we're trying to do, is go to what Melcat has to offer as far as the Melcat proper through MCLS has to offer as far as advertising, because we're soliciting. We can't do a petition. I don't think that's the right tack to take right now, but we're soliciting um, uh, stories, testimonials from the patrons, and we're going to start being more aggressive with that, with bookmarks in each Melcat item. Share your story either in writing or online. I'll try to dig out there's a link where you can share it directly to the Melcat site. But that it's hard to be aggressive because you'll create that sense of worry, which might be necessary. I'm very concerned about how we are characterized if we take sides right now. I if it was mine to direct, I would be very aggressive. I'd be far more aggressive than we're being now, because we found out about it about a month ago, and I shared it with the powers that be here at Bloomfield Township, the admin staff and all that. So I think I was the first one to actually know what was coming down the pike before it was even signed. Um, but we didn't address it publicly to our staff, the rest of the general library staff, until yesterday. And unless people were really keeping up with the TLN website and the MCLS website, they wouldn't have foreseen it coming, or you could say generally, because the education budgets are being affected. But so it was quite a shock to me. I never thought about my job being so dependent, and it's forced me to think in a whole different way about what I do. I'm still a clerk, so I don't think I'll lose my job, but my reason for being here every day is to deal with Melcat. So it is quite disturbing, so to speak. Soapbox over.
Yeah. No, and I mean, people love milk. I mean, I've said this. I say this in tours I give to the library. I've said this on, this this group. I think Mel is some of the best use of tax dollars there is out there because everybody can benefit throughout the entire state from it equally, whether we're rural, urban, everything in between. And every library that has that base offering of great things.
I've got some daily users, and that's all they use. They don't even, I guess they've read it. I need to ask them, I need to have a chat with them next time they're in, but they use Melcat exclusively for all their reading and, media items. So, maybe that's where, not to mention it, maybe that's where I should start is the people who would be more apt to be champions of it. I just, it's a, it's not confusing, but it's unprecedented. That's the word I'll use.
Yeah.
And it's so much so that you don't know which way feels the correct avenue. So we're starting small with just a testimonial of what Melcat means to me and that kind of thing. But I'm cautious about how much to share, just because I don't want to alarm people too much at this point.
I feel you there, and I love your idea of getting champions for it. I think that's something. If hopefully it's not needed, but if we need to, that's something this group, MLA, MCLS, could all rally behind and showing the impact that the IMLS
Absolutely.
funds give us.
Right. I've actually had people say, I love Melcat, and that's what sort of got me started. And this was prior um to the executive order being sent down. But I love, unsolicited. I love Melcat, and so I know they're out there. I just need to take some time, 5 minutes or so of their time to talk with them and try to figure out my approach to how I present it to them because it's sort of a dark cloud over everything right now, despite the sunshine. Does anybody else here deal with, or is anyone else in circulation? I'm sort of like, I think the odd man out. I'm in circulation / marketing because I have some marketing experience in my past. So they sort of selected me for, the part that Circ plays in community relations and all that. But I wouldn't call myself an outlier per se, but I think I do have a different mix of job responsibilities.
I was gonna say, hopefully someone will chime in. Peter, they also are in circulation, but I want to share what Angela put in the chat. She said, it is beneficial to share with the public how the system works, where the funding comes from, what it funds, and how it impacts at our level. Just a little circular diagram on how it works, like watch a plant grow. And that's I love that, how the plant grows, because it does. It comes from the feds to the state to, each of our individual libraries.
I like that. Yes, definitely. And I think that's a good soft way to do it, sort of give them the background. And this, I don't know how many people are aware, but this is Melcat's 20th anniversary. Oh, the irony.
I thought it was longer than that. So
I think it started out as something,
yeah.
and this is all before my time. I've only been
Yeah.
doing this for 3 years, but I think it wasn't called Melcat specifically at first. I'd have to do my research to actually dig back on the history.
Always Melcat.
Yeah, but it was something close to Melcat before it became actual Melcat, if I'm not mistaken.
And
So
Laura,
it's been around for longer than, yeah.
and Laura put in the chat that Suburban Library Co-op created a great video on how Melcat works, and it did have IMLS credit in there. But likely most people don't actually know what IMLS is or that it's under threat. That's the truth, because you hear IMLS, short of us in library land, it didn't get a lot of press coverage because other things were overshadowing it. And what's IMLS? It's four initials. They don't.
Exactly. What's
It'll be our
MCLS
job to
and
show people how the IMLS funds are, come down to everybody at an individual level.
I'm being updated. It was called InMish before it was called Melcat.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's from someone who's been here for far longer than I have.
Okay.
Yep. I don't know what the INN stands for, but I'm sure it's some kind of interloan synonym or acronym.
I say I probably got here just about it when Mel was starting, because I've been in library land for just over 20 years now. So, because I only remember it as Mel, because Mel is just so great. That's all I have to remember.
Yeah, I mean, again, I hate to keep reminding people of my teaching career, but as an English teacher, I mean, we used Mel a lot. It was great through our high school library. And there's a fact sheet. I don't know how well this is going to come across.
You're coming.
Okay, this was sent to us I saw it through listserv, and I did print it and put it, well, I'm the teen librarian, so I put it in the teen section, not so much for them, but hopefully for their parents, and maybe for them a little bit. But I think what people don't understand about Mel too, it provides databases, ebooks, test tutorials and workforce development, training and support. I mean, it goes on. I'm preaching to the choir in this group probably. But actually, I don't know even that, so from what I can gather, too, a lot of librarians know beyond Melcat what this organization does. And how, if the money was eliminated, were eliminated or changed, it would affect quite a bit, not just in our libraries, but also in our schools. And like I said, I agree. I don't know enough about I'm not in a position where I can dictate like how we publicize this or whatever, but I do like the idea a lot about testimonials from patrons, to even just kind of collect those, just in case, but also to make people aware that this isn't just about whether you can do interlibrary loan, but it's also about a lot of other things as well that are going to be affected. And the last thing I'll say about this, is that going from the educational world to the library world, there definitely was a perception among my peers and among my family, like, oh, can't we just Google stuff now? Like, I mean, there is this thing that we're just a place of books that are not even relevant. Like, the public perception of libraries from some people is that we're pretty antiquated, I guess, and that the profession is not what it is either. And so I think this is part of a larger problem that we need to stand up for ourselves, but right now it's difficult in the political climate.
I agree. I think in general, like you say, definitely books themselves, physical books are being diminished, and I still think they play a critical role in the humanness of all of this. But definitely there's attack on intellectualism, learning, facts. I could go on, but I won't. And it's disturbing on such a deep. I'm nauseous right now every day, just from how insignificant it's thought that these things are thought to be, despite how you feel about higher learning or whatever. Learning itself is being attacked, and that's the part that's really disturbing to me.
This is definitely yeah, something we've got to all keep our eyes on and you know, watch, make sure if everybody isn't already, make sure you're part of our listserv. If you want, just shoot your email. If you're not, put your email in the chat and I'll make sure to send you instructions on how to get on it. So that way, we can stay in touch as a group to, because this is something that if hopefully it doesn't, hopefully we're worried for nothing. And I would love that to be the case. But, watching the world, I don't think that is the case.
Crazy.
So it's something, if one of us could, create something like that, great, like how is that Laura? Gotta scroll up in the chat. Midnight. I'm scrolling up in the chat. Yeah, Angela, sorry. Give credit where credit's due that, the great little, of a plant growing. So, that's something that all of us could then, utilize. Great. And to Peter and Kathy, I'll send you instructions after this meeting on how you can join the listserv. So we're not too active on the listserv, but there's times when it's times when it can come in useful. This could be certainly one of them.
I'm not positive. I get your emails monthly for the meeting, but I'm not sure about the listserv part. I don't know if that's one and the same or.
Because I send out the reminders to both the Michigan PR Group listserv, but also to Mich Libel too.
Okay. Well, thank you in advance for that. Yep.
Anyone have any other thoughts on that topic? Before we just watch and wait and see how to respond.
Is anybody hearing anything from their directors or boards about how to proceed as far as being the veritable mouth of the library?
They've left it here at Bloomfield. They've left it to us marketers, and by us marketers, I mean they've left it to me being both part of the marketing campaigns and the Melcat head or whatever you want to call it. So I feel like I'm on a lifeboat that's leaking a little bit. But I'm trying to reach out to several libraries locally that are also in the same mindset. So we're sharing ideas about, especially the bookmark promotional thing where you can sort of, you don't have to have that conversation, which could become uncomfortable. I like the idea of sharing how this whole thing works because I agree. A lot of people don't even know the difference between a regular hold and a Melcat sometimes, So I think that part is a good place to start. Yeah, so it's just, putting your mentality into it, just how can you share it, I think. But they're sort of relying on me and it's kind of I don't know, it feels like a lot, I must admit. But we shall overcome, somebody once said, I believe. That's how it goes. But these are all great ideas, though. So I think the more it is talked about, at least amongst us library folk, the better. So ideas do come out of it.
I mean, it is difficult too. Like I had a patron, this wasn't totally library related, but they were checking out a book on Gettysburg, and I asked if they were going to visit there, had been there, and they said that they were, and then I gave I'd been there a few times, and I gave a little advice, and then I said, oh, I don't know if they're doing that anymore because I don't know if there's been reductions there with Park Service. And as I'm talking, I'm like, is this getting me into a political, you know, um, area that I don't really want to necessarily, but realistically, the last time I went to Gettysburg and visited, um, we got very personalized service from a National Park Service ranger, and I really don't know if that's possible. I don't know. Like, it could be. I haven't heard about Gettysburg in particular, but it's hard because our patrons, by and large, love libraries and they love learning and they love to be here and they find it useful. So usually, you're kind of in an environment that is for those things, but not always. And so it's hard. It's different than it was when I first was hired. So it's different than being in the classroom too, I feel like. So I just don't want to offend anybody with conversation, trying to help them a little or make conversation, and then say the wrong thing. So then I think what happens is people just pull back and you just say, well, I'll just say, oh, Killer Angels, great book. Here you go. Like it's a little awkward sometimes if you don't know where they're coming from, what their viewpoint is. So it does affect us more than I think people think.
At this point, for my staff here, I have shared
Yes.
the notices that we've gotten from ALA, and I'm kind of letting staff, I just kind of told them, here is how it is going to affect us, because some of this stuff is so overarching and we get so much stuff from the state and the federal. And so I think I've been really trying to keep it personal. How is this going to affect us personally as a library, our library? Because I think anything more than that can be a little bit overwhelming. And sometimes people just don't really care, unfortunately, that, how is this going to affect me? That's what people want to know. So I've kind of been keeping it on that level at this point. I see that Adam has joined us from Library Michigan. I'm kind of curious to see if he has any insight on how people at Library Michigan are feeling. If you wouldn't mind sharing.
Funny, I just came out of a staff meeting, an all staff meeting here. And yeah, that meeting had let's say the first 45 minutes of it was primarily focused on the stuff that was announced over the weekend. And one of the things that it can be a difficult conversation, I think, for us, is that there is the funding portion of it that goes towards like MelCat
Database.
and those types of things. But then there's also the other resources that are used like by our library development folks for doing Niche Academy, which is paid for through federal dollars, and probably at least a half dozen or a dozen other things that are paid for to provide professional development, learning opportunities, certification, all those other things that our library development folks do. And so that's part of the conversation. But then us as state employees can't necessarily like advocate for ourselves in the same way that other people can. So like I know there's going to be that one event coming up that's going to be in Lansing soon where people are coming in to for an advocacy day, and like if I'm going to be, I can't like really be down there other than to, like when Randy's talking to the group, like taking pictures, and that's pretty much about it. For us to be advocated in any way as state employees, it's like it can't do that. So I don't know. There's one of the things that was kind of being discussed this morning is like some of the language within the statutory language for IMLS and how like the interpretation of the word shall will probably get argued over by lawyers for the next few weeks or longer. I don't know. It's still a bit of a, like with everybody else, a bit of a wait and see type of process. And how this impacts library development may be slightly different for me and our special collection staff, but yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, I can mirror the concerns that I'm sure a lot of people have. Um, but I'm also a glass half full kind of guy. I know the world eventually somehow rights itself. Or the way I used to look at it at my old job is that the world works in this sort of cyclical way of like it may go one way at one point, but then 5 to 10 years later, it reverses back to a completely different way. So yeah, that's my. I mean, I can try to answer questions, but I don't know how much more I can really go into it beyond kind of what our staff had talked about this morning. Which was more like questions than a lot of answers.
Well, personally, I'll say, Adam, to you and all the staff members there, just our thoughts are with you. So
I will say one thing is that there was a shift early on over the last month or so to move a few positions from under being paid for under federal dollars to be under the state's general fund to make sure that like that would make it more difficult for us to have to like potentially cut people. I don't foresee that happening. But I know it would come down more to like some of the other things that we do before it even gets to something like that.
well, hopefully none of it comes to pass. I'm knocking on wood as I say this.
Yeah.
And
what is the next step for this? I mean, where does it go from here? Do you know?
That's a Randy and Michelle question. And they're if you reach out to them, they're pretty good at getting back to folks. And I'm sure because I think they still have those periodic director meetings, virtual meetings, and in the next few of those, they'll have more things to talk to during that. But yeah, because like how it impacts me versus some of the other staff, it's goes in a bit of a different direction.
Yep, and Angela popped in that they had a meeting last Friday with all the directors. So so before, well, who knows? They might be calling an extra one now with all of this. Who knows?
Look in your email to see if there's a Zoom request.
I'd say, Adam and obviously you can't know this until you know this, as what goes down and what is affected, like we can't share, at least speaking for me in my library, we can't share conjecture, but if we know facts, if this goes forward, this is affected, that's what we can share.
Yeah.
So
Well, in one thing, so one of the things that I got to take pretty recently was a media training, which was very helpful. And I can't remember who specifically it was through that did it, but there were other library directors and managers from other places across the state that got to be part of it. And what was really helpful was kind of how to navigate those kind of questions that you get where you feel a little bit more like, should I answer that? Should I not answer that? I mean, the one way you can approach it is like if people are asking you reference type questions, you try to answer them as best as you can, but you don't speculate. You don't, I like one of the things that was being asked to me was, the things going on at the federal level, and I kept circling back and saying, that's above my pay grade. That's it's my responsibility to be focusing on things that are going on at the Library of Michigan and not what's going on at the federal level. And that seemed to be a pretty satisfactory answer for if I was being approached by somebody from the media.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Look, yeah, I think there will be talking points that eventually come out soon that will give people more direction on how to focus on this. But one of the really good things that I always try to do is try to really highlight the good things that you're doing right now and how that makes an impact with the community that you serve. It, putting the focus on a lot of those good things makes it so that people are reminded of like, hey, oh, my library exists for this purpose, and it's never hurts to keep continuously getting that information out on what the value it is that it provides.
Good advice. Does anyone else have any thoughts on this topic, or what is thoughts for another topic? No other thoughts or questions for the group today? If not, I'll say go out, enjoy this lovely springtime day. Hopefully it's lovely throughout the state. I can only speak for Southeast Michigan here. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay. Otherwise, it looks like our next meeting will be good old tax day, April the 15th. And this meeting, I did remember to hit record on this time around. Apologies for last month that I just slipped my mind. So I'll post this up to YouTube and send out the link hopefully later today.
Thanks, Kelly, for being a trooper today. We're just all, I don't want to say in mourning, but there is a definite black cloud over it. So we appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate everybody. And, I love Peter, I love the idea you guys have of, getting the testimonials, because those can come in handy not only for this, but for so many other purposes. So
absolutely. And thanks, Adam, for sharing what you could. From this level, we do really appreciate your efforts, and when you are able to share in your advice from a, even just that a level above us. I know you're not talking federally, but just keep it local, keep it current. These are all good things. So let's go get them.
Remember, every challenge has its own opportunities. So it's sort of like when I have that pressure of having to get something done really quick, like all of a sudden inspiration comes at the last moment. Just look at it like that. We're preparing for tests.
Well put. A wise man once said. A wise man once said. So very good. Very good.
And I'll end it with what Romeo popped up in the chat. Good vibes to everyone. I love that.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks.
I'm gonna go get some coffee. Everybody have a good day.
Yep. You too.